So thank you. My name's John Fritz. I'm here at UMBC. I appreciate all of you making the trip out here. This is sort of a wild and woolly experiment. So we've got, some of us are here, some of us at Seton Hall, George Mason. We've got another thing at 1 o'clock where it's at Hopkins, but we're going to, so we're all confused. You know, we're all just trying to, you know, see how we can play around with the technology. Yeah, if you, could you, yeah, if you could mute it, Mason, that would be helpful. Thank you. I'm sorry, we're not going to have time to do introductions. It's just we have the agenda very packed. What we really, the fact that you all came here, I know it's, you know, not just for our presence, but, you know, but coming here early, I know there's a lot of interest, so I want to get right to what we're going to be doing. Unfortunately, I'm going to be the taskmaster on the time, okay? So what we're going to have first is Jeff Welsh from Hood College is going to talk and share his experiences. Jeff, I've already told you, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes, and then don't be angry at me, but I'm going to give you the hook so that we can get Danielle Merlis and Amy Phillips from Seton Hall sharing their experiences. Then we're good.
It's not working. When they muted the incoming, so it's not working. Yeah.
Hello. Yes, we can hear you at Seton Hall. Okay. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is go right into it. This will be an experiment, and then we have John Fontaine. I appreciate John making the trip up from Blackboard to kind of share what their lessons are going to have been, and then we'll open up to Q&A. I know we're going to go long on the Q&A, but we'll just do the best we can and take the rest of it online, you know, to email or discussion, okay? So I've already cut into Jeff's time, so go ahead.
Well, I told John I'm going to be Joey Suzu today, so if you can just hold your questions if we have time for later. I'm just going to try to run you through real quick what we've experienced at Hood. So just some facts. Blackboard 5 Basic customer, deployed in spring 2001. We do on-campus server hosting. We have used all of these versions of Blackboard. 9 is our first version using enterprise licensing. So just to be clear about that. We have 1,500 FTE students, about 80 full-time faculty, 50 adjuncts, and myself and half of another IT person, and that's kind of ambiguous, support Blackboard. Just again, some rundown. System was installed. The Blackboard 9 system was installed summer 2009. We deployed it for production in January 2010. We have a Windows Server 2008 Hyper-V base, and then we're running 2 virtual platforms off of that, the app server and the database server. So, and for all of you, we'll have this for you to take with you, and I have my business card so you can contact me. And we do Active Directory account authentication for our users. 8 weeks of training is what we put forward in the fall, starting in October, going into the December time period. And this was really our best strategy for our size to train our faculty. We brought them into a room like this with computers. We had a basic 60-minute system overview. Here are the big changes. We have some quick reference documents floating around there. They're color documents that I created, and I can show you those if we have time. But we basically keyed off of those. And we also then had an advanced 120-minute system overview, and that was for our faculty who are a little bit slower on how these things were coming to them, getting to understand the GUI, the changes, the nuances, all of those things. So we basically had, for our very facile faculty, a 60-minute, and for our not as, not our tech knots, but our people that just need a little bit slower look at the system changes, a 2-hour training. We also did a lot of scheduling of one-on-one faculty training. The quick reference documents that I noted are floating around out there. Those have been instrumental in getting people to move from Blackboard 8 to Blackboard 9. Those have helped me as a support mechanism tremendously. And then there's been some really nice quick tutorials that I've leveraged that Blackboard has on things like the Grade Center, just getting to know the new user interface that our faculty have appreciated. And I'd say to our Blackboard friends here, I'd like to see more of those. So those have been very helpful to us. So again, what I'm going to try to do is run you through what I call speed bump issues. These are not like showstoppers for Blackboard 9. In large, the new interface and the features that it brings, mostly to our faculty users, have been great. It's intuitive, it's quick, all of the, the removal of the extra pages and things of that nature, receipt screens, those type of things, those have been well received by our faculty. But what I want to go over are some of the things that I was not expecting as an administrator and that I kind of ran into. So most of these are documented by either other institutions, Blackboard support tickets I've put in. We did a conference call on this subject I'm about to talk about on notifications, and I just want to give you a quick idea. Announcements send email changes. So if you post an announcement in Blackboard 8, it will do a verbatim message that goes out to your students. In Blackboard 9, that mechanism is wrapped up in the notification system. So what it will do is it'll send a notification that you have an announcement, but it will give them a link, not verbatim text and email. So that was one little speed bump that we ran into. Course enrollment notification email. By default, if you have the notification email capability turned on, if a student is added to a course, they will receive an email that they have been added to that course. That's problematic for us because we put 8,500 or so enrollments in at one time. So again, it sends this mass emailing out. One problem with that though is, and I don't know, maybe Blackboard 9.1 fixes this, it only sends the alphabetically first course ID as the enrolled class. So if you're enrolled in 4 classes and they have an F, M, or T in them under the arts class, they don't get any notification of that. If it's just a single class they're enrolling in, they'll get that notification, but when you do a bulk upload, it loses that. So I also discovered that if you turn off the notification, do your bulk load, it doesn't send out any email, so you can turn it off and do that. But then when you add anyone new to that roster after the fact, it sends everybody in the class a course enrollment email, okay? So that's a big gotcha, because basically it's not harmful that these messages are going out. They're telling people they're in classes that they're obviously enrolled in. It's just they kind of have this mental glitch where the students would say, why am I getting this? Has something changed in the registrar? Why didn't I get this 3 weeks ago when I originally registered for a class? So that's been a change we've been trying to manage, and we've had many discussions with Blackboard about that. The homepage module, default versus announcements, you can change it back to use the announcements. I've found that the homepage, which is the default course button you go to if you just use the defaults in Blackboard 9, is in some ways inferior to what we had before with the announcements, because instead of seeing the announcement, you only see a link to the announcement. So you already had that out on the homepage. You're getting that sort of redundantly. And again, that may be something that can be changed going forward. But it's not a big deal, but it's just something to note. User access to edit notification settings. If you don't receive that course enrollment email, or you don't have access to the home page, you cannot manage your notification settings. So there's not an extra button in Tools, say on the home page, to do that. That's something I'd like to see Blackboard put in to 9. And then notification email timing. Depending on what type of email notification you choose, say you want to notify your students every time you put up a new piece of content. Well, you can do that as an individual email, or you can do that as a daily digest. And so I was a little confused about the timing of this, but essentially it's, for performance purposes, generally 1 hour after you post something new. So that was something to know. So again, course site interfaces changes in Blackboard 9. The hide menu button issue. There's a little button that is great because it gives you more real estate, hide your menu button. But Blackboard will remember in your IE or Firefox session that that's the last thing that you did. And the consequence is that your students come back to their site, and get to the right one here. So here's the hide menu button, and they see nothing. That really throws them for a loop. It also throws the faculty for a loop because they can't see their control panel either. So I would love to see Blackboard make that always default to being on, showing that, and then let the user just do it during their session. But again, it will remember that as a feature. Control panel menu not as initially visible, and again, that's if we tab back over here to the control panel. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong one here. There we go. You can see this is 1024 by 768 XGA resolution. They can't see the control panel. It's hidden down here. So you scroll down and it's there and it cascades itself out, but that has thrown some of our faculty off because they don't have a big screen or they don't have a high resolution computer. And again, this is only by virtue of what resolution they're working with, but that has been an issue that people have reported they're having a little trouble with. Drag and drop limitations with reordering a large number of items. So the drag and drop works really well, but when you get a huge, say 30 items, and you want to take something from the bottom and drag it all the way to the top, you just really have to be very precise with your mousing up and down to drag that item up there. Although the keyboard reordering does do the job for you, it's sort of like I didn't miss the numbers, but now I kind of missed the numbers. So again, that's something that I'm not sure how we handle that, but that's something to be aware of. This is a huge issue. Viewing your course rosters in Blackboard 9, the default search parameter has changed. You used to be able to just put in a blank field when you list modify users and hit search in all previous versions, and it gives you a comprehensive list. Well, now you either have to put in the % which is a wildcard, say, showing me everything, or you have to select this little menu button that says not blank. And what that not blank is, I don't understand what that means. I mean, I'm an IT person. I don't understand that. So if it said all users or list all users, it would be perfect. So I think if we just change that nomenclature, that would be so much better. IE6. Now, it's kind of a 2 versions behind browser, but it's still out there. People have it on their home computers. They don't hit the auto update button. You know, they like IE6. Blackboard 9 does not work well with IE6. It works, but it is so slow, and it's mostly because of the Java. It's just not able to keep up with all of the very cool, very awesome new capabilities of Blackboard 9. But you know, we discovered that we had maybe 20 faculty who were still using IE6, so we had to upgrade them to XP Service Pack 2 and then to IE7. It was quite an involved process. What we were able to do, though, is if you just add Firefox, the latest version of Firefox pretty much solves that problem. So that's the workaround we've employed. Office file types require IE security changes. So what that means is if we go here and I pull up a file from Office, for example, I'll pull up my just a Word file here I have. Let me drill down here. You will be required, I hope it does this when I go to click on this document, you will get what one of my students has called the dreaded yellow security bar. And most folks know when they're downloading something off the web, they just say go up here and say download. And if you do that, you kind of sit there and you're waiting for something to happen. Nothing ever happens. If you go back and click on the same folder a second time, you will see that now that I've, during this session, told IE, trust this document, it will go in there and now let me do this open save. What we have found is that if you tell your users to go to Internet Tools, Security, Custom Level, and scroll down here to this little button that says Automatic Prompting for File Downloads Disabled, and select Enabled, you'll get your little box open, save, or close. And that's the workaround. So I would ask Blackboard to go back to the drawing board with the IE product and these file types and figure out, I know why it does this in Blackboard 9 because it's using JavaScript to call the file, but in Blackboard 8 and before, it was just using a relative file link. Student upload assignment in Blackboard 9, there's no more digital Dropbox. The assignment feature is there, it does the job, but there's this extra step, and that's attach a file button. And what that means is that instead of just browsing to the file and saying this is the file I want, you have to browse to the file and then press a button that says attach this file. So it's like, you know, it's 2 extra steps that we've never had to do or the students have had to do. How am I doing on time, John?
We're
getting close.
Yep.
duplicative content and tool menu buttons. Now, I've always experienced this in some sort of different weird ways, but when you take a archive or export from Blackboard 8 and you bring it into Blackboard 9, it will not, in my experience, take that information and put it into the right content button. It will create a whole new content button. The good news is that it's very easy to delete, move, and do things with those buttons once you get them in there, but it's that extra level of redundancy that I didn't appreciate. And then user account created on archive restore when existing user has different email address. This was a real big gotcha. So I took an archive of a course from our old system, restored it in the new system. This was a non-term course ID. It's like the history department's course site. Any student who changes their email to whatever the archive email picked it up as, and again, this is to retain the archive, so it's the honest to goodness one-to-one archive from where you took it from. It will, if my username at Hood is ABC01, it will create an account for ABC01, like ABC011, if the email is different. So if my Hood email was there at hood.edu, it would see it, log everything, no problem. If it saw that I changed that to welshie@comcast.net, that's my home email, so don't spam me there, it will create that extra user account. And I'm so close, I'm so close. Create user and enrollment batch files fail. Again, I don't know, most of you probably are enterprise, you're using snapshots. We are sort of old school. We're still using batch files, and I'm hitting the button and manually putting stuff. We're going to the snapshot. But when you do that with a big amount of data, if you take that same amount of data with a couple extra changes, like a couple extra enrollments the next day, if they're not at the top of that batch file, it will error out at about the 300th line. So you actually have to massage your batch file to get those files up there for this to process correctly. And if you have any questions, see, I was on one slide off.
We're in perfect sync here. Okay, I'm going to go now to Seton Hall. I don't know if the folks at George Mason, if we have connected yet, but we're having some problems because your mic is not muted.
They muted.
They got it? Great. Okay, so.
But now they unmuted.
Okay. All right. So let's turn over to Seton Hall and Danielle Morales and Amy Phillips. If you want to share what you folks are learning. Okay. And let me just also tell you, we are recording this, so I know we're going fast, but this might be a way then we can catch up later. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. All right. All right. So.
Say that again, John.
Seton Hall, are you there? Okay, I'm hearing, but I'm not seeing.
When they start talking, it'll come up.
Okay, it's your turn now.
Keep talking.
You keep talking, please.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear us?
Now, yes, and now we can see you too. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Danielle Morales. I'm the Assistant Director for Instructional Design and Technology. And with me is Amy. I'm Amy Phillips. I'm the Learning System. So the first part of the process was that we needed to get to version 4 in Blackboard. So we had created a communication plan, picked the date for that upgrade to roll out into production. And we were going to do this May 11th. So we continued, what we started then with was putting this version on our staging environment. I should mention that we are also hosted. We installed a version of version 8, Service Pack 4 onto our staging environment. We ran into some while this upgrade was taking place. So those personal insights really got the faculty to come in and take a look at it. We created a sandbox area for them to play around, see what their course would look like in 9. This is a big get used to some of the drop and drag features, the drop down menus, and so on. We also needed to test some of our building blocks, but we ran into the issue with the single sign-on not working, so we were kind of at a standstill. So towards the end of June, they released Service Pack 1 for Blackboard 9, and they also released Service Pack 5 for Blackboard 8. So we decided that we would put Service Pack 5 on our staging environment and see how that worked out with single sign-on. That did fix it, and our time frame was getting a little flow. We decided that we were going to go from 8.02 to Service Pack 5 and then straight to 9.1, or 9 Service Pack 1, all in one night. And this would bring the estimated time was about 12 hours. And we did go over that time frame. So there was a lot of different changes that happened rather quickly towards the end of all of this. We also then, after we went live on July 19th, right in the middle of the summer session, we set up training sessions for faculty, as well as the previous sessions that we had offered before the production went live.
Danielle, Amy, Danielle, this is John. I apologize. It is really kind of challenging to see your screen right now, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have about 5 minutes left for you, and I'm wondering if you could kind of help us kind of cut to the chase and kind of what were the issues that you saw, and go from there.
So the biggest issue for us, aside from everything that was talked about in the previous presentation, which I said before was very comprehensive and we don't want to repeat that, even with all our communication to our faculty and all our efforts to get them involved in training sessions beforehand, to communicate to them that this was coming, when Blackboard 9 was in place, it was like ripping off a Band-Aid on a very, very arm. I mean, they were so... They acted as if they had no idea that this was coming. So I'm not really sure if for the majority, we have a high use of Blackboard on our campus. Survey results and the data that we can collect from Blackboard suggests that about 80 to 85% of our faculty are using Blackboard in some way. We did not reach, I'm sure, that 80 to 85% to come in to sit in on our training sessions, and broadcast emails do get ignored, and if they happen to come on the IT website. So I think with faculty demands and being busy in their research and teaching, I think they ignored our communication or didn't see it. I don't think it was intentional, my feelings were hurt, but to the campus community when it was rolled out, they were not happy. And some are still not happy because it is a significant change. And like with all change, you have to use it and get used to it. It's just, it was a bit of a shock to them. Can you guys sum that up okay? Stand it up and here and all right.
Yeah. I am just curious about one thing. Did you use system-wide announcements in all Blackboard courses in 8, saying that you were going to be switching to 9 and then provide a link to it?
No, we had put it in our portal area.
Okay.
So we didn't actually post the announcements within the courses. But we had web pages, we had announcements posted on like our screen readers. We had we tried to write everything with our PR department to get this going. And I honestly been sending out a personal announcement. That was pretty much the only way to get them to come in and do training online or in face-to-face.
So did you consider just putting a big old banner ad right in their course and saying we're switching?
Well, because we did it over the summer, the majority
Got
of
it.
the faculty weren't here over the summer. So
Got it.
It was the ones that were here in the summertime, and we got about 150 of them to come in. Those were the ones that we were able to get.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really sorry to cut you off now. That was a great summary of sort of the lesson learned. I think I saw a lot of nodding heads here as well. I'm going to now switch over to John Fontaine from Blackboard, who's going to give us sort of the mothership's view of how things went. And, to the extent that you can, maybe give us a...
Oh, I think it's on. Can everybody hear me? Is that working? Good?
Everybody hear
yes,
John?
Yes, hear me?
Okay.
All right.
So,
I apologize. Of course, the Mac crashes right before the demo. I'm told that Macs don't crash, but apparently it did today. So I was going to just show a couple of examples of clients that are live. This is Teesside University. They've taken a good deal of advantage of some of the customization capabilities that are going on. we have actually, here's Seneca College, they actually use Blackboard as their main portal, so upgrading for them is a big deal. It's upgrading their campus website, really. And so there are a number of schools live. We actually also have launched a whole bunch of information. Blackboard 9.1 is just around the corner, as this blog post on Educate, Innovate will tell you all about, and that will link you to a bunch of great resources. And this sort of brings me to my first point about what we learned from going to Blackboard 9, which is we didn't have the right advice out there for people about the level of changes and the right materials people wanted to do that. So we now have created a team, and we weren't even ready internally in terms of our support team and our hosting team to really take this technology change. We'd sort of been going through application packs, and even 8.0 is basically an application pack. And then we moved to this next major release, and we just didn't organize ourselves internally, and that's on Blackboard. So we've made some changes ahead of 9.1 and going forward, where we now have this dedicated group called Go to Market that is a cross-functional team, and all they're doing is tracking all the activities that go on about the release, beyond just the engineering work, tracking, making sure all the documentation's getting updated, making sure you're getting advanced notification. One of the big new initiatives of Go to Market is also, we heard from a lot of people that they wanted to have the ability to just get people, a chance to look at it. We heard this today about, we want to educate faculty. We may not have a test server set up. We want to educate ourselves about it. So there's now this server called the BB Learn Preview server that's available. And you can go here and you can actually see, you can go to Behind the Blackboard and get an account for this. If I simply log in here to my Behind the Blackboard page, and any student or faculty can get their own Behind the Blackboard account to actually test this out if they want to, and then you simply click on this button and you create an account, and a couple hours later you get an account up and live on the system. And that will connect you to this machine here where you can actually go through the whole system. So we're taking a number of steps to help get you ready. Another set of information that you'll find on Behind the Blackboard, it's linked from this post here that's just live on the front page right now, is this Talk to Blackboard area where we're really trying to encourage conversations with different communities. So you can go through here and see about how to manage change for 9.1, lots of materials trying to make available.
What is that?
This is on, this is talktobb.com. And then the other site that you should be aware of is the Upgrade Center. And if you just search for Blackboard 9 Upgrade Center, you should find it. And it will talk about all the steps, kind of how we see options, how to build your plan out. We're trying to provide a lot more information to people about how to get there. The second thing we've done is really focus on improving the support experience. This is something that Ray Henderson really brought with him from Angel. And we've now instituted a couple of key indicators in our support organization and changed the support organization around a bit. We've added a new group called the Level 3 Patch Team. And what this team does is really make sure that when you need a critical patch, there's a way to escalate it within support and deliver a patch out, just like you could call Oracle or Microsoft and get a patch out. The second thing we're really focusing on is the days cases stay open and working to bring more of our cases to under 7-day, under 24-hour, and under 30-day close rates so that we can actually really significantly reduce the amount of time that these tickets are staying open. The other thing we're doing is we're really trying to listen better about what things are being fixed and what should be fixed. So we've started this new process, this group called the Bug Squad. Is anyone here on the Bug Squad? The Bug Squad is I believe it's a weekly meeting now. Blackboard 9 Bug Squad, you get together and they have voting on what issues are going to be fixed to the next service pack, and we review it with the folks and with a whole bunch of system administrators and people operating the system to really use this crowdsourcing to help make sure that we're fixing the right issues that matter to people the most. The other thing we've done is we've significantly upgraded. The other mistake I think we made in the upgrade process was I had previously run the maintenance team for many years, and I left just before the release of 9, so I guess it's probably my mistake. But we had made a change last spring based on previous service pack demand and timelines of them being implemented. We kind of cut back the number of service packs we were doing last year, and that was definitely a mistake. So we've now ramped up the number of service packs, and we will have a service packs planned for 9.0 and 9.1 throughout this year. There will actually be, we're already hard at work planning additional things that might be put into the 9.1 service pack as well as a 9.0 service pack that will be coming out. So we will have a set of communications, and ideally, the other thing I think we did wrong was that the service pack came out too late for most people to take it for the fall, that we're adopting 9.0 for last fall, and we're going to have a service pack out now, planning a service pack to go out in the towards the end of Q2, beginning of Q3. So right kind of in the middle of the summer, you should expect to get an upgrade that gives you a couple months of time before the start of the fall semester to get that up and running.
How do you decide who's in the MD bug squad?
What?
How do you decide the membership of the bug squad?
I believe it's open, and you just can go and join it. But I can find out that information. So generally, the things that we have tried to do are increased focus on maintenance and support, reducing the time to close by adding significant additional resources to the organization, and then really focusing on listening to customers to address a lot of these long-standing problems. The other organizational change we've made that Ray brought with him is previously teams were organized within product development around projects. And so as a developer, I might work on the gradebook, this project, and then I might work somewhere else on the next project. We've come to recognize that we need people with deep knowledge of these systems over time. So we've identified people who are called product managers. And product managers will actually, I think there are 12 of them now. They focus on specific areas of the application. So for example, there are a number of product managers who are dedicated to the what we call the course delivery module, which is a lot of the teaching and learning tools. There's a product manager dedicated to the community tool. There's product managers on content. So what this does is it allows someone to be held accountable release after release. And they're accountable not just for the quality of the next release, they're actually accountable for the whole portfolio of that product in the field. And so that creates a knowledgeable person in the company who is ultimately responsible for the capabilities of that product, meeting your needs as customers, and ensuring that we have continuous innovation. And those folks then have assigned developers that work with them and assigned product designers that work with them. So there's a really this collaborative team that gets together. And we've just held, this last week actually, we've just had our first sort of big kickoff of this new group. We reorganized last fall, and then we kind of had to get people a plan for 2010, and that group now should be fully up and running. And you should start to see those product managers out in the field and talk to them pretty regularly. And I think that's going to have another positive impact on the overall products. This idea of building expertise upon release after release, and not just having people kind of moving around and not being as focused. So my hope is that those changes will show a dramatic improvement in customer service. We've already seen internally good movement on numbers around time to close cases, number of cases open more than 30 days. We've reduced the backlog by more than 50%. Hopefully you've started to notice some of these changes. And certainly if they're not working for you, I welcome that feedback as well. This will always be an adaptive process. Blackboard is an incredibly complex application. If you think about what you're accomplishing by having a Blackboard application up and running, most companies would just be satisfied to have an online discussion board or maybe a gradebook. We've decided as a collective organization, as a collective set of organizations, that we'd like to have a gradebook that does, deep analysis of individual multiple attempt grades to complex assessment questions that are calculated on the fly, branching and pathing within content, and a full feature discussion board, wiki, and blog service. So you start thinking about those capabilities and putting them together into a system. It's a lot of a functional capability. We need experts in those areas, and that's what we're trying to build. And hopefully over time that will show a dramatic improvement and continuous innovation along the system. Blackboard 9.1 is about to come out. It will have a tremendous amount of new capabilities. How many people here are involved in the sort of administrative side and system admin level work of the system? This release is for you. It has a number of great new API capabilities. It has a whole bunch of additional diagnostic capabilities that we're doing. And so I think you'll find that you can actually extend the platform and integrate the platform a lot better, and you'll be able to, over time, know a lot more about what's going on. One of the tools that we're working to develop is really some administrative functionality as well. It probably won't be in the 9.0 base release, but it'll hopefully be in the service pack. There's this tool called the Administrative Console that we're working on that gives you the ability to tail your log files, do snapshot events within the, not like bulk data events, but actually like snapshot the system at a pulled interval. So if you're diagnosing performance issues or other things, you can manage all these things from a simple console view within the web application. So you'll find that a number of these capabilities are behind the scenes, but actually going to be quite helpful in terms of managing the system. There will be a couple of additional tools coming in. If we look at the, and I think I'm running pretty close on time here,
Yeah.
so we'll kind of stop pretty quickly here. You can go to the Playground and start checking out now. Playground is not just 9.1. There may be a few things that we put up there conceptually to get people's feedback on. And so I'm not technically allowed to tell you that it's 9.1. It's pretty close at this point, I would say. And you'll find things like improved grading of blogs and journals. There's a new wiki tool that's available. There's a new capability in the Grade Center where you can put Grade Center views now in the Grade Center views populate up under Grade Center now. So there's been a complaint that like when you launch, it's always launching into that spreadsheet, right? And that's really painful if you're managing a lot of different things. So what you can now do is anytime you create a Grade Center view, you can create if you manage a smart view, you'll see, I have existing by default a couple of smart views around various things. I can then actually go and, if I have these items here, I haven't done this in a little bit while. You can add it as a favorite, and it will actually, it can actually then show up, hopefully, down here within my Grade Center. Yes, so if I go down here to the Grade Center, you'll now see blog is now an option within the Grade Center. So I'm able to save that bookmark, and when I click on it, blam, right there I am into the Grade Center. That was something that is example of. There's a lot of small things you'll also find in 9.1 and over the course of this summer that we're going to be rolling out that are really designed based on these annoying feedback items. I think one of the items that was mentioned was the problem of the download, of the security prompt download, and the issue people are having with that. We're really looking closely at that right now on a number of different ways and trying to look at how we can make that kind of a workflow better. The last thing you'll find is how many people here use the Blackboard content system? Anyone using that? So if you are not using the content system, so the rest of you, you will have a course files area that manages all of your resources in the course. You'll also find that we now use Zythos underneath as the underlying file system infrastructure for the product. So there are some advantages of that. For example, if two instructors have the same file uploaded that's a 400 megabyte PowerPoint, Zythos actually just keeps one file on the physical disk unless those files diverge. You will not have access to things like versioning, workflow, e-reserves, portfolio, all the things that are really content system tools. But the basic file system engine is there. And you can also do things like connect through WebDAV. There's also a new file upload tool that you can use that allows for drag and drop file upload through an applet. And I'll see if I can show that quickly. And that's probably a good place to close for questions.
Content system only, or
The applet, I believe, the applet in WebDAV is available for everyone. So you can actually, when you upload files, let's see, where's the upload applet here? May not be on this one yet. Oop. It may be having, always the fun of showing beta software is that it may not. So here the drag and drop feature will load in a second. And I can now browse. I can actually just go and go to my Finder here in Mac and find some file like this particular file here, and I can simply drag it, and there it goes. And so that will hopefully be very helpful to your users. You can also connect through WebDAV to connect up. One of the things that I've done actually is there's an app for your iPhone called Air Sharing that you can use as a WebDAV client on your iPhone, and you can take a picture on your iPhone, send it to your class. Kind of cool demo.
Okay, I think we're going to
Questions? I think that's probably a good spot.
Questions. The first question I want to ask, though, is how many of you are planning to go to 9 this fall? So one, two. So maybe half the maybe half the room is considering going to 9 this fall. Let's open it up to questions. Seton Hall, if you have either follow up, or George Mason, if you're still with us, questions at this point. I do have some questions that came in under the Google moderator that we can go to as well. Okay. But yes.
Do we have, excuse me, I guess, have you heard a new date for 9/1 yet, or is it still just hopefully the end of March or early April timeframe?
Well, we're now at like.
Please repeat the question.
Yeah. So I believe the question was, do I have an actual firm date for the release of 9, or is it the end of March or early April? I would say we're not going to release something unless it passes all of our final checks, and we're in that final check phase now. So it might be plus or minus a few days of the end of March, I think, would be the right time frame to be looking for it. But I don't think you're going to look at, it could be a week or two. It could be like a week before or a week after, I'd say. But, you're kind of in that window at this point. Unless they find something catastrophic, in which case.
Yes.
When you opened the Project NG playground, it gave us some of us impression that it was a different product than Blackboard 9. Where is Blackboard going as that project from 9 to NG, or there are lots of bells and whistles in NG that you don't have in 9.
So when we talk about the Project NG playground, that is really a snapshot of what is currently on our developer workstations. And how it differs from the core product right now that's 9.1, it's pretty close. I think you might find a few minor items here and there, but it's basically pretty close to what's actually in it. We generally are, as a public company, we can't, we have to sort of differentiate between our vision, which we call Project NG, and an actual fixed release. And so we want to give you as close a view of what we're currently planning to ship next, but it can always differ a little bit from the final product, and it may have some things that we decide to pull out at the last minute because we want to move forward. So I would say right now it's very close. And I know we showed a conceptual mock-up about a year ago that was more of a static click-through and not live code, and there are a lot of differences between that because that's much more at the conceptual end. But anytime you're seeing something on this server here, that means that there's at least working code somewhere that we've put together, and that we're putting that on we're hopefully getting that on a release time frame.
I had a question over here.
My question is for Seton Hall. Can you talk about other resources? You mentioned that you had a difficult time getting faculty into training classes. Can you talk about other resources, maybe web resources that you use, or were you depending exclusively on in-class, face-to-face kinds of training for your faculty?
Amy and Danielle, I don't know if you could hear. The question is for Seton Hall, your training approaches. Other than face-to-face training, can you talk about any sort of web-based resources or training that you provided to faculty so that they could learn how to use the new product?
Right, so in addition to face-to-face courses, we offer WebEx courses. So there are a number of WebEx courses that were offered to our faculty, and we did have online tutorials for them.
We also created videos that were posted on our website prior to the upgrade. We also sent out and continually send out after the upgrade, like weekly tips that would include reminders to students to make sure they click on the attach file when you're using the assignment tool. And with that, we attached like a tutorial and videos, and those really are what the faculty and the students seem to be responding to.
And to be fair, this was I think our third major upgrade of systems. So our faculty had already been through a big email switch from Lotus Notes to Outlook. So I think some of what we might have experienced was just a lot in a short amount of time for the faculty here at Seton Hall.
Okay, thank you.
There's also this on-demand.blackboard.com site that we've just launched, and that has a number of free video tutorials that you can send faculty to. You can go through yourself and use and point people to as resources.
Other question in the back.
So for when 9.1 is released, what's the upgrade path to get there? If we're on 8.0, do we need to go to 9 and then 9.1, or is it going to be a straight shot?
I'm actually going to have to look into that. I believe you can go directly to it, but I'm going to have to double check on that actually. So
I
let's
saw another
Why don't you
question.
give me a card.
Yes. Can we access this site you showed us from behind the Blackboard?
On-demand.blackboard.com, I believe anyone can just go to that URL. You don't even need to go to behind the Blackboard, but there is a link to it from behind the Blackboard.
Yes.
Yeah, with 9.1, I've read that with 9.1 your web servers and your database can be server 2008 64-bit. I don't know if you had heard anything, or I've kind of just seen some things.
I actually have a developer build that I'm running with that right now, and you can do that. There's a few security configuration tricks that you'll run into because they've locked down some of the IIS web service permissions. So there's a little bit of configuration chain that gotchas that you run into, but they're not terribly high.
Cool.
Other questions? Jeff?
Of all these look like they're going to be very informative and useful for our faculty, whether we're online or our colleagues here at Transition. Is there any, we just missed it, or are there any communications that go out regularly telling clients about these resources? Like, I never even heard of this URL.
Yeah, there was a communication that went out today, and those usually go out to the, so you may not have heard about it, you may have just heard about it today. There's also, I encourage you to subscribe to the Blackboard blog at educateinnovate.com, and you'll find that we post a lot of information there. This is a nice summary of the stuff that's available. So let me do that. When you think about communications, one of the cool features that we have now with 9.1 is we've integrated in the Blackboard Connect technology. So if you are a Connect user, you can not only send messages to your campus through the Blackboard system, there's actually faculty level messages that can be sent, as well as students can subscribe to receive the notifications through Connect through voice or SMS. So you could actually call all your faculty up and let them know that the upgrade is coming tomorrow and that they should go to the materials.
Is that a building block that you just
there's
plug in?
a building block element of it, and there's actually some core technology that you just turn on and configure.
Okay.
So if you have Connect, does anyone here have Blackboard Connect?
Yes.
This question is for anyone who is using Learning Objects Campus Pack for blogs and wikis. So my question is, if you are using Learning Objects, are you staying with Learning Objects? How did you, deciding to use the integrated blogs, journals within Blackboard versus Learning Objects? If anyone has any sort of insight as to how they're making a decision, or if, what decision they made, that would be helpful.
I think that's a good question. So I'm not sure if everybody else remotely could hear it. If you're using Learning Objects, blogs, and wikis, are you going to stay with them? And if not, what's the decision around that? We are using Learning Objects right now as well, and I have to say this is one of the things that I wrestle with. On the one hand, just even getting the adoption of the blogs and wikis has taken me a fair amount of time. I think I want to see how it works in 9.1, and it isn't. I haven't made that decision. I would say for us, we're going to go forward in the fall. That we probably will keep the blogs and wikis right now, and for me right now, I'm not paying a huge amount relative to the Blackboard license to keep the Learning Objects, blogs, and wikis. I'd sort of like to let my faculty vote with their feet on what they're going to do with that.
Do you plan to enable both?
Yes. Yes. It will create some confusion in terms of the communication, but I think as we try to tell people we're going to 9, get ready, and part of getting ready means make a choice and give us some feedback so that we can go the right route. I appreciate that Blackboard put that in there. I'm just still not even sold right now. For the majority of our faculty, I'm not seeing them using the blogs and wikis. And I don't know if it's poor communication on our part, poor support. I don't think it's performance. So, I'm even pedagogically, I'm not yet sold that we're there yet, but that could just be me. That could just be what we're doing here. Anybody else dealing with that?
This is Edie at the Hall.
Yes.
We had the Learning Objects, blogs, and wikis. We are actually using both so that our faculty that have already developed their content in the Learning Objects, blog, and wiki can remain to have it there. And then we're transitioning them to bring their content over, because a lot of our faculty use the copy, the course copy tool. So we didn't want to have them to recreate new blog or wiki and then also have to learn a new interface. So we've got tools available. Any faculty that wants to create a new one, we push them towards the Blackboard blog, and we really haven't seen complaints or any reasons why we shouldn't just continue to use the Blackboard blog journal tool. And then once the wiki is released in 9.1, then we'll probably start using that as well. So we need to keep our learning objects licensed to the wiki.
Are you guys using blogs and wikis?
No, I mean, that sort of part of our transition was more.
You wanted to get
just
those
versions.
functions.
We went from basic to enterprise, so we didn't have
Got it.
building blocks. We didn't have third parties, So our faculty, I think, will embrace those type of things. I definitely see the wiki coming in 9.1 as being something that people have been sort of asking about. How do we do this? And I've sent them off to third parties external to Blackboard. So I'd be very interested to see how that works. But I think, John, it's the same thing. It's faculty have not risen to the level of where they have figured out how these tools work with their learning model and the way that they're deploying their teaching and their lecture experience. 'Cause for us, Blackboard is totally supplemental to the lecture experience. We have no online component, so we have a very different flavor.
Okay. We have just a few minutes left, and I need to have time to be able to fire up the 1 o'clock demo from Hopkins. So unless there's another question, I think we might go ahead and wrap it up.
Is there one final question for John?
Sure.
For the things that I went over, were those mostly known to you, or things that we likely would see changes in 9.1, or are our issues more boutique?
I think your issues, like the issue with the file download, is well known to us, and we are looking to solve them. Some of them are harder to solve, some of them are easier to solve, but generally they sound like things that have been high on people's radar. And I think one of those things that we're trying to do is encourage that community sense of like, are we alone in experiencing this or having this together, and what is Blackboard's response with this idea of the bug squad. One thing which I will also mention that we launched that is available for your students, I know there was a mention about IE6. Getting rid of IE6 is a personal mission of mine. It had its day, it's passed. Google's not supporting it anymore, so I hope when YouTube videos don't play at the end of this month that there will be a shift. We did launch a toolbar with Microsoft that's available from blackboard.com/toolbar that you can use as part of an upgrade campaign. Get this new Blackboard toolbar, upgrade to a new browser. It works for Windows, Firefox, as well as IE, and it was built mostly by Microsoft, which is why you'll see Bing logos and MSN properties, but it does provide a very actually handy function of you can get notifications when you're browsing around the web of what's new in your classes. It does a little blue flash to you to let you know that you've got new materials. And you can go down and see what's been posted in the courses. You can also get all the course map here, and you can do deep linking. It uses the Blackboard Sync technology, so you do need to install the Sync building block. Or if you've taken a recent service pack that's on, you probably just need to configure it. And you'll see it links me down into the information that I want. And
I think John switched gears on
Yep.
you. Sorry.
Sorry. Well, anyway, so you can drop down into that item.
I am unforgiving.
Unforgiving. I'm over my time. The band is playing, so if you'd like to come by and get a demo, I'm certainly happy to show that. I know a lot of people are very ambivalent about toolbars. Our research has found that there's about 10 to 20% of people who really love them, and then there's probably an equal number of people who are like, get this out of here. We've been very subtle in our rollout of it because we know that some people love them, most people kind of have kind of an ambivalent nature. It's for toolbars, it's very nice, and actually I quite like it. It's got like you can do the weather on it, and you can like change all the colors and the tools, and it's a fun little toolbar. And the fact that it gives you notifications when you're got something to go check on Blackboard makes it actually a really useful tool for getting students to go back to Blackboard when they have something done. If they're like me, they got like 30 browser windows open, and they never know when to go to class.
I'm going to have to stop it there, John. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I apologize to both Jeff, John, Danielle, Amy, Mason. I know this was a real whirlwind tour. I appreciate your patience. Hopefully it was useful to you. We'll try to get the recording, a link where you can take a look at that. We are going to switch gears now to the Hopkins map demo. For those of you that want to stay for that, we'll be pulling this up here shortly. For those of you who have to leave, thank you for coming, and we'll follow up on another event.